Hi, fifth graders. Today we're going to be talking about powers and exponents. And powers and exponents are important for us to learn about because it helps us understand how sometimes things can grow very big, very fast. This you'll often see in science, in medicine, in disease progression, and hopefully in finance or money. A lot of people want to see their money grow very big, very fast. So understanding exponents can help you with that. So let's take a look at what a number looks like when we're using an exponent. I have a number here, 10 to the fourth. This is a large 10 and a small 4 in the top right-hand corner. Now, it's not an accident that it's written that way. It's written like that on purpose because both the 10 and the 4 tell us different pieces of information of how this number works. First, the 10 is called the base, and the base is going to be the factor that we are repeating when we're trying to find the value. The 4 is called the exponent. This tells us the number of times that the base is going to be repeated. So before we look at some examples, let's refresh our memory on some of those vocabulary pieces. First, factors are the numbers you use when you are multiplying. So that's important for us to remember when we're using the base as a repeated factor. That just means it's the number we're multiplying. When your factors are the same, you can rewrite your equation using an exponent. That means if we had an equation 10 times 10 equals blank, we could rewrite that with an exponent. But if I had 3 times 4 equals 12, I couldn't because the 3 and the 4 are not the same number. So your factors need to be the same in order to rewrite them using an exponent. And finally, numbers written with exponents are called powers. So let's look at some examples and see how all of those pieces work together. First, let's go back and look at our 10 to the fourth. I know that I have a base of 10, which is what I'm going to repeat, and an exponent of 4, which tells me that 10 is going to be repeated 4 times. So in expanded form, that would be 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. I'm using the factor of 10 and repeating it 4 times. So to find the standard form, I need to multiply all these 10s together. Well, 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 again is 1,000, and times 10 one last time is 10,000. So the standard form value is 10,000. In word form, if we want to call that a power, we would call that the fourth power of 10. Let's take a look at another one. This time I have 10 to the second, a base of 10 and an exponent of 2. The base of 10 tells me that my factor that I'm repeating is going to be 10, and the exponent of 2 tells me I'm going to repeat it twice. In other words, I have 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is equal to 100, so the standard form value of that is 100. In word form, we can call this the second power of 10, or you might hear this as 10 squared. And if you think back to learning about area, you can remember when you multiplied two dimensions together, your unit was always a square unit. That's the same idea here. We're multiplying the base and repeating it twice, so we can call it 10 squared. Let's look at 10 to the third. I have a base of 10, which tells me I'm repeating the 10, and an exponent of 3, which tells me it will be repeated 3 times. 10 times 10 times 10. That gives me 1,000 as my standard form value, and in word form, I would call that the third power of 10, or 10 cubed. And you can remember the 10 cubed because you have 3 dimensions, length, width, and height, on a cube, so repeating the base 3 times would get you the 3 dimensions. Now there's one exponent that we'll work with this year that sometimes gives fifth graders a hard time, and that's 10 to the 0 power. Now 10 to the 0 power is not 10 times 0. What that really means is that we're looking for a power of 10 that's repeated 0 times. The only power of 10 that's repeated 0 times is 1. So if that wording is kind of tricky for you to understand, this is one that I would recommend ask an adult at home if you can write on your bathroom mirror with an expo marker. Yep, I mean it. It's something that you can write 10 to the 0 power equals 1, and then every time you brush your teeth, wash your hands, check out and make sure your hair looks good, you'll see that and it'll help you to start to remember that 10 to the 0 power is 1. That's one of those tricky ones that sometimes fifth graders just need to work on memorizing if that idea of a power of 10 repeated 0 times is kind of tricky. Now, in word form, you could call it the 0 power of 10, but most often people just refer to it as 10 to the 0 power. Now, finally, I want to show you one example where the base is not a 10. And this row is going to be highlighted in orange because this is actually a sixth grade example to stretch your brain a little. But the process is exactly the same. When I have 2 to the third, all that tells me is that my base is now a 2 instead of a 10, and I'm repeating it 3 times. So if I stretch that out, it's like saying 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and then times 2 one more time is 8. So the standard form of 2 to the third is 8. Finally, in word form, we can use the same pattern and just call this the third power of 2. So if you see a base that's something other than 10, it works exactly the same way. But this year in fifth grade, you will only see questions with a base of 10 as your fifth grade examples. So hopefully that helps to make exponents a little bit more clear. Thanks for watching and have a great day, everybody.